How's it going, everyone? This is Tom, and today I'm back with another comparison video, this time between the iPhone 5S on the left and the iPhone 5 on the right. Apple has discontinued the iPhone 5, however you may well be choosing between a new iPhone 5S and a second-hand iPhone 5, so let's just jump straight in. As you can see, this is an iPhone 5S on the left. You can see the colour, it's in space grey, and then my anodized iPhone 5 on the right. In the red colour. I'm mainly going to be talking about the software. We're going to cover the speed and performance, and we're also going to be testing Infinity Blade 3, which is a 64-bit optimized application. Okay, so to start off, I just want to mention that these phones are kind of virtually identical. They've been restored from the same backup, so they have the same settings, and they also have the same applications installed, so we shouldn't get any major differences. I'm just going to quit out of all of the applications here. As you can see, there are no running apps in the multitasking drawer. I also want to display that both of these phones are currently running iOS 7.0.1. That's the latest iteration of iOS, so they're on identical software. And for this comparison, we have the iPhone 5 on the left, and then the 5S, the new 5S, on the right. And you can just identify them by the difference in the home buttons, as you can see right there. And also within this comparison, we're going to be doing some browser tests on Safari to see how well the browsers stack up. So I'm going to just highlight that I am removing both the cache and the history from both of these phones, and I'm also going to turn on private browsing, and that will kind of stop any extra cache data from affecting any of the results during this comparison. As you can see there, I've just done that on both phones. You actually do it through Safari, which is different to iOS 6. And the first kind of thing I want to mention in this comparison is that on the 5S on the right, you have the option to unlock your phone with your fingerprint. So I don't have a passcode on the iPhone 5 on the left, but I do on the right, and as you can see how quick that was to actually unlock it instead of entering your passcode with the new Touch ID feature. Next up, we have a boot test, and I actually took these off camera to make sure that I started them up at perfectly the same time. But as you can see, the Apple logos, the iOS 7 Apple logos are up on both screens currently, and it'll be just a few seconds until one of the phones starts up. I'll let you guess at which one, but as you can see, there we go, the iPhone 5S has powered up. And it's ready to unlock, but it's not a humongous difference. It's only about 3 to 5 seconds difference between the two. Next up, we're going to be using a benchmark tool called SunSpider. This tests your JavaScript performance within your browser for your specific device, so it gives a kind of a good representation how fast and well performing the browser is on your specific hardware will be. The lowest score is better here because it's actually measuring a time, and as you can see, the iPhone 5S is already finished, and now we're just waiting for the iPhone 5 to finish it as well. It doesn't actually take too much longer. As you can see there, it just finished there. As you can see, the iPhone 5S on the right scored 426 milliseconds, with the iPhone 5 scoring 707 milliseconds. This is, of course, just a benchmark score, and we'll get into some real-world performance website loading in a bit. We'll just close out of Safari here and go back onto our home screen, and we're going to be using Geekbench 3 for the next benchmark comparison, and this kind of gives you some more information about the system you're running, and it also kind of gives you a overall score of your system performance. It's also a good representation to see how long the benchmark itself actually takes, because as you can see, the 5S is already tearing ahead, whereas the iPhone 5 is a little bit on the slower side with this benchmark. So I actually sped ahead a little bit on the benchmarking process, and now the iPhone 5S is done. It scored 2,561, and now I'll sped ahead for the iPhone 5 to load as well, or finish the benchmarking process, and that scored 1,304. And as you can see, there's quite a substantial difference here. The 64-bit processor has clearly really influenced the score. It's a really high score from the 5S, almost double the performance available in the iPhone 5. Okay, so next up, let's do some real-world actual testing, and let's go through some app launches. As you can see, I've cleared the app tray. Right here we have the clock application, very, very quick on both phones. To be perfectly honest, the app differences that I found during this test is that most of them are very, very similar, if not the iPhone 5S is ever so slightly faster. The iPhone 5 is definitely no slouch when it comes to speed, and I think this really shows in the application opening. There's only so much you can improve on an already very quick app launch. Next up, we'll do some real-world browser tests. I just want to go ahead and clear the cache and history once again from our earlier browser test. So let's just go back onto the home screen, open up Safari, and let's get cracking. First up, we're going to load apple.com, tap it both at the same time, and then strangely enough, the iPhone 5 on the left actually loaded this page quicker than the iPhone 5S. This seemed to be a relatively one-off though, as we continued the test. Here we have redmondpie.com ready to load up, tap it both at the same time once again, and the main bulk of content actually loaded first on the iPhone 5S there, and then the rest of the content was actually quite slower to load on the 5 rather than the 5S, so the 5S totally stopped loading before the 5 did. And last, let's load up YouTube, and as you can see, that's a very, very similar speed for the load time. Load times are mainly dependent on your internet speed and also whether you've cached the web page or not before. Where you're going to see the most improvement in the 5S is in the gaming performance. So now let's demo Infinity Blade 3, which is a 64-bit optimized application on the iPhone 5S. So here we have Infinity Blade 3 running on the iPhone 5S. This is a 64-bit optimized application, so it should look different. It should look more detailed than the iPhone 5. To be honest, the difference isn't huge. Like, you're not going to see vast graphical differences purely because the graphics on the iPhone 5 is already very good. With that being said, you can definitely notice in person there's a huge amount of detail being added, allowed by that 64-bit optimization. You can see further reflections, the anti-aliasing has been bumped up, so the picture definitely does look better. I'm not sure how well this is translating over a kind of a screen like this. It might be kind of bottlenecking it. What I'll do is I'll also show you the iPhone 5 as well, so you can kind of come up with an informed opinion. I've also got a bit of fun at the end where I tried to play 2 games at the same time, one on the iPhone 5S and one on the iPhone 5, so we'll show that to you just in a minute. And here is the iPhone 5, we're also running Infinity Blade 3, so as you can tell, the difference isn't huge, but it is noticeable definitely in person. I was able to identify the picture being a lot better on the 5S, it's just not enormous. I'm going to shut up for a second so you can actually concentrate on the gameplay and... And then finally, here's a side-by-side comparison with me absolutely failing to do anything. I'm the worst double Infinity Blade 3 player ever. I don't think anyone's ever died on the first boss, so, you know, hopefully it does give you a little bit of an idea, though, about the kind of side-by-side comparisons between these two. There's not a lot in it, but if you're in person and if you're actually looking for details, you will be able to find them. It's mainly in the details and definition that actually go into making it a better gaming experience. There we have it, guys. That's going to do it for this comparison video between the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 5. If you have enjoyed or found it useful, definitely hit the like. It really helps me out. It would be great if we could reach like 500 or 1,000. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done it already. I pump out lots of videos just like this one. Leave a comment about your opinion on the iPhone 5S and its comparison to the iPhone 5. Do you think it's done enough to make people want to upgrade? Let me know, and I will catch you next time.